嘿嘿，我是你们的小黑黑。哦。So we have the latest and greatest Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G in the house. Fully maxed out, cost me a fortune. But the question is, how good is this phone? Together, we'll find out in this Hey Tech original series. Let's get it. OnePlus 7 Pro has always been my Android daily driver. I can't say enough good things about it. 6.67-inch fluid AMOLED display with 90Hz refresh rate and QHD Plus resolution. Snapdragon 855 SoC paired with 12 gigs of RAM. Triple cameras on the back with a 48-megapixel main shooter. Curved edge-to-edge design with a stunning nebula blue finish. Hey, the list goes on, but you get what I'm saying. 10 months later, here comes a newborn for the challenge. The new Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra 5G. I have a problem with the name already. We'll call it S20 Ultra to save us some time. Upon opening the box, we got the first look of the S20 Ultra. I mean, the phone is big, but it's manageable. Remember, I've been using the OnePlus 7 Pro. The Pro is not a small phone by any means. However, if you come from an iPhone 4, your shock is totally understandable. But at least the camera on the back is sitting flush. Let's get back to reality here. Surprisingly, or should I say I'm not surprised at all, the S20 Ultra and the Pro are about the same size. The Ultra is a tad taller, the Pro is a bit wider. The Pro weighs in at 206 grams, and the Ultra is about 15 grams heavier due to a much larger battery. Nonetheless, they're in the same ballpark. Let me use the phone for a little, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. From a design perspective, instantly I like the OnePlus 7 Pro better. This is a true curved edge-to-edge design, and I love it. Unlike the S20 Ultra calling screen the couldn't be more sarcastic Infinity O display where you got a hole in the center. The Pro only gives you a curved screen and nothing else, and I like its approach. In case you don't know, the Pro achieved the true full screen by using the pop-up front camera, paired with the satisfying sound when it's popping its way up. Hey, this is the future we're talking about. Both the phones are using AMOLED HDR10 Plus display with WQHD Plus resolution, essentially means 1440p. Here's a little catch on the Ultra. The default resolution right out of the box is only Full HD or 1080p. But don't worry, you can manually adjust it to 1440p. But here comes another catch. You cannot use a 120Hz refresh rate if you select WQHD Plus resolution. You can only use a higher refresh rate on Full HD setting. What is this? Consider they're bragging about this 120Hz feature, but in reality, this $1,600 so-called top-of-the-line flagship only give you this鸡肋. I mean, 瞬间我感觉我的智商受到了侮辱. On the other hand, the OnePlus 7 Pro is almost a year old. It's the first phone in the world with a 90Hz screen. It still feels amazingly snappy, and you can use the 90Hz refresh rate on the maxed out resolution. No catch, no game. In my experience, it's not a game-changing function where if you use the 90Hz screen, you can't go back. Sometimes you can't even notice it. But it does bring you a little more fluidity when you're scrolling. I mean, who doesn't like the extra perk? For unlocking the device, you got 2 ways on both phones, either through facial recognition or under-screen fingerprint scanner. What amazes me the most is the blazing fast facial recognition speed on the OnePlus 7 Pro. The whole process is done within half a second once you wake the screen up. It's fast and accurate with no hiccups. However, the 2020 flagship S20 Ultra is a less pleasant experience. It's slower. The recognition requires ranging from 1 second to never, depending on the phone's mood. The angle to unlock is less forgiving, and remember to turn off this bizarre stay on lock screen option, or you will stay on the lock screen unless you swipe. The downside on both phones' face unlock is it only works in well-lit conditions. You can't use them in the dark. Regarding the under-screen fingerprint scanner, the two devices use a different approach. The OnePlus uses optical, while the S20 Ultra uses ultrasonic scanner. Who's better? It's hard to say, just like every coin got two sides. The two different scanners both got the good and the bad, and here's the deal. The optical sensor on the OnePlus 7 Pro is fast. It's not as fast as Touch ID, but it's there. The downside of the optical sensor is it requires you to light up the display every time to capture the image of your finger. The unlocking process during the night might turn into an unpleasant experience. For its ultrasonic counterpart on the S20 Ultra, it's a little slower. But at least it only uses high-frequency sound, so the screen can keep dim in the unlocking process, and due to a more complicated and detailed 3D model of the fingerprint, the ultrasonic sensor is more secure. A little heads up, something you need to know about these fingerprint scanners. They don't work when your fingers are wet, and only certain types of screen protectors work with the scanner, so buyer beware. Now, I think it's time to talk about the biggest selling point of the S20 Ultra. Yes, the cameras. The so-called a massive leap forward for the photography. Is it really though? We got 5 cameras on the S20 Ultra. Most of them feature very high pixel counts. 40 on the selfie cam, 48 on the telephoto, and a whopping 108 megapixels on the main wide-angle camera. That's 9 times the pixel count on the last gen's S10 series or the iPhones. On the top, the ultra-wide is the only one here with a more traditional 12 megapixel sensor. With all the bells and whistles in the camera department, it's better be good. So how's the performance? For photos, the S20 Ultra's front cam is able to deliver a quality shot matching the high pixel count. The color looks vivid and a little more artificial, but overall, it's decent. As for the video on the front, the S20 Ultra supports 4K resolution at 60 frames per second. OnePlus 7 Pro only shoots up to 1080p at 30 frames per second. Since the Sony IMX471 sensor it used is like a year old. Both front cams have some nifty functions. They all can put video on pause, and you can resume the video shooting afterwards. And the S20 Ultra also has this AR doodle thing, where you can decorate your face, cause who doesn't like to be a bootlegged Harry Potter, right? Once you flip to the back, the glossy black piano finish is nothing fun without the camera module. I actually like the camera's look in close-up shots. The cameras on the back of the S20 Ultra give the phone a massive bump. Let me tell you, if anything, the S20 Ultra got the definite win is the size of its camera bump. The phone killed it with a hump, and the corny space zoom naming under the camera module reminds me of the knockoffs where they will slam every specs possible on the back. The default mode when you fire up the camera app is a wide-angle lens with a new 9-in-1 pixel binning that produces 12 megapixel photos. Samsung calls this no-nut binning, and it's the first phone to use a 3x3 pixel binning rather than 2x2 like the Huawei Pro series. Sammy claims the S20 Ultra can dynamically shift between a high-resolution 108 megapixel mode and a no-nut pixel binned 12 megapixel mode depending on conditions. From my everyday use, almost none of the photos were taken in 108 megapixels. In order to see the full glory, we have to manually go to ratio, which is the icon right here says 3x4. Click on it, voila! The very first option is to force the camera to take photos in maxed out resolution. In this full resolution mode, you can switch between cameras like in the regular mode. However, you can take 108 megapixel shots in both wide angle and telephoto, but not in ultra wide. I suspect it's due to the limitation on the ultra wide's pixel count. Apparently, 12 megapixel is just too low. For picture quality, thanks to the updated camera module, the S20 Ultra does take fantastic photos in well-lit outdoor conditions. The primary sensor is nearly 3 times larger than the S10's and gathers up 2 times more light. The results match the hardware upgrades. Details are amazingly sharp. The color is surprisingly pleasing to the eyes. However, even with HDR on, the photos taken still have this darker tone blended in this beautiful yet artificially created color filter. I mean, it really depends on your taste. For me personally, I love it. In low light shootouts, the camera's performance is still very solid. If the sensor deems the environment is a little too dark and the scene optimizer is on, it will give you the suggestion to use night mode. Depending on how dark it is, the exposure lasts between 2 to 28 seconds. Yes, you heard me right, 28 seconds. And you have to hold the camera still during this time, or you will end up with a masterpiece to behold. The dark mode will make the photo noticeably brighter, actually a little too bright for my taste, and come with the cost of sacrificing the details. There's a lot of noise, but the overall clarity is still good enough. What about the space zoom? The company bragging about this 100 times hybrid zoom, and even slammed it onto the camera module. Between 2 to 30 times zoom, the further we zoom in, the more details we lose, but the photo quality is still meh, acceptable. However, if you go beyond the 30 times zoom, the image will be crawling with noise and distortion. So you can probably use space zoom for fun, but don't expect any real contribution in taking pictures. Last but not least, video. The S20 Ultra is the first phone in the world with 8K video recording capability. Considering the fact 4K just went mainstream, so 8K is a definite overkill. And the video quality in 8K mode is just bad. There are no other words to put it. The image is so cropped up and choppy, you end up with a very narrow view. The footage is grainy even in bright conditions and full of noise too. I personally wouldn't want to use this 8K for video at all. What a useless sham. The 4K mode is better than the 8K. The cropping is not as bad as the 8K, but sometimes the camera is constantly adjusting and seeking to focus. So the footage will end up annoyingly blurry way too many times. Fortunately, rest of the times, at least the details of the video are pretty sharp. So overall, I'm very disappointed with S20 Ultra's video recording ability. Let's talk about something maybe a deciding factor in purchasing a phone, at least for myself, the battery. This S20 Ultra got one of the biggest flagship batteries out there with 5000 mAh typical capacity. Unfortunately, I got one untypical unit with less than 4700 mAh, but nevertheless, the battery life is still very impressive. I myself am a heavy user. I watch videos constantly, checking social media apps, taking pictures, making phone calls, and reply to all kinds of messages. This phone will give me a peace of mind knowing that the battery will last at least a full day. And the full day here is not 10 hours by Apple's definition. I'm talking about from 8 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock at night. I'll still have about 5% juice left. And I would wake up after an 8-hour sleep and only lose about 5% of the charge. Hey, if you can achieve this battery life, I'm a happy customer. Alright, it isn't a complete showdown without a Geekbench. With the latest Snapdragon 865 under the hood paired with 16 gigs of LPDDR5 memory, it's not a surprise the S20's performance snatched the crown amongst all the Androids. Single core score tops out over 900 points without breaking a sweat. Multi-core sits about 3200. It's about 20% leap over the OnePlus 7 Pro Snapdragon 855 in terms of single core, and a 15% improvement on the multi-core. To OnePlus 7 Pro's defense, it's a whole year's difference. But other than the numbers, you cannot experience the real usage difference between the two phones. So again, why do we bother? Lastly, some small bits I want to mention before we wrap up this review. First, to turn off the S20 Ultra, you have to push and hold the volume down and the power button simultaneously. This is the default setting. My recommendation for you is to go to the side key setting and change press and hold to power off menu. Trust me, it will make your life much easier. And the 5G on the phone. The performance depends heavily on your network provider. For me, it's still not quite there yet. The T-Mobile 5G coverage I had. According to the news, they have achieved peak speeds of 600 megabytes in parts of my city. But apparently, I have no luck in my area. Even with full strength signal in my house, the speed is very inconsistent. At times, I'll get a crawling download speed at around 10 megabytes per second, but mostly I'll get a bump to near 100 megabytes. But it's just as fast as 4G LTE. Obviously, the 5G network needs more time to brew, so stay tuned for a more comprehensive review in the near future. In conclusion, I don't recommend anyone to buy the S20 Ultra, at least for now. It's a solid piece with all the fancy gimmicks, but you have to ask yourself, do I really need them? Almost 80% of the answer is a no. And the overall user experience doesn't justify the premium price I paid, so 劝退. The good news is the OnePlus 7 Pro is less than half of the price. It performs equally good, looks stunning, and with over $1,000 in savings to spend elsewhere, I'll be more than happy to stay with my OnePlus for now. A word for the semi-flagship, no thank you. 那本期的黑科技就到这里喽。如果你喜欢我的原创，记得一键三连哦，因为你们的支持就是我的动力。I'll see you guys in the next one.